2008. It was a great year for Division III college football. It was my second year on the Stag Bowl sidelines. Whitewater in Mount Union for the 82nd time, it felt like at that point. It was when I was in Miami, actually. I was kind of commuting back and forth to cover Union games back then. And some guy named Eric Wren decided to hit me up one day while I was doing my internship, I remember, in Miami. And he said, hey, this podcasting thing, what do you think about this podcasting thing, Frank? And Eric, you take it from there.
Well, talk about a warm handoff. I think we started with a non-sports related theme, didn't we? Didn't we try our hand at a little bit of free-form, I don't know, a little bit of politics, a little bit of current events?
Well, we did that on the message boards, that's for sure, and that was promptly censored and censured and everything else. Yeah, so then we decided, hey, there's this need for Liberty League football coverage.
There's a need for the public, Frank, to have broader access to your stylings, and that was really what it was about. I mean, I was trying to bring Frank Rossi to the masses, sort of like you did with your political career. I was thinking about this, a long time ago. The world needs more Frank Rossi.
No, it doesn't.
And this was really, really about that. No, I'm just kidding. No, you're right. It was a chance to showcase, a great product, a great culture, small college football. We were inspired by the media footprint of Division3Football.com and our friends over there, Pat Coleman and team. And we wanted to put a little more spotlight on upstate New York. And, at the time, there was some great rivalries going on back in the day when it was a lot of RPI, Union, and Hobart, the three-headed monster. Since then, we've seen other teams absolutely make some noise in upstate. St. Lawrence became a bit of a force for several years. And it was just, look at you two guys. This is like a married couple. It's Fred and Ethel Mertz over there.
We've had a long relationship. It's probably been one of my longest ever, actually.
Well, obviously, I knew my time was short when you started going video, and I said, okay, I have a face for radio, so I kind of wanted to leave it to the handsome guys.
Hold on. We got to fast forward here a little bit because you took a hiatus. You do a couple cameos on our show so often, and then this week you hit me up and you told me, I'm back, baby. I'm back. I am going to be in the booth with Chris Engel on the St. Lawrence feed of the RPI game, and I am going to I'm back for good, Rossi.
You're adding a bit of emotion to it that I'm not sure I had, but I like your enthusiasm. But yes, absolutely. I was invited by Chris to join him in the booth, and I said, sure, why not? And instantly, my first reaction was to call you, my broadcasting, Swami mentor, and let you know that, I'm kind of making my way back into the dark side of broadcasting that you so eloquently held down the fort for all these years, along with James there.
A lot of people over the years have asked me, what the hell were you thinking, Rossi, putting these two guys on the air with you? And, my response is generally, hey, if I can make these guys shine, anybody can do this job. And we've proven it. And if you hear some of the Division III broadcasts across the country, we've proven it because some of them were.
Oh boy! Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about a little bit about that later on in the show. But no, seriously, Eric, it always takes good comedy stylings, I think, to make some shows popular. JB. He's always been the guy with the numbers, but he's always put me in my place on the show, and people love it across the country. That's why they're always asking, "Where's JB?" But people do ask still, "Where's Eric Wren? How's he doing? And what's he up to?" So for the final statement here, because I won't get to listen to the game much tomorrow, what are you up to? How's life?
Life is good. I am for the last year been working on building kind of a hobby farm. My wife and I, and put up a horse barn and kind of working with farm equipment. I'm pretending I'm a farmer. Gentleman farmer, we call it, but I don't know if gentleman's the right term.
Gentleman farmer, as you see.
Exactly. James, you're doing voices now, too. I like it. Hobby farmer is a better term. I'm learning a lot along the way, enjoying my family time, hanging with the kids, hanging with the wife, and following you guys from afar. Not too far, though. I mean, it's the beauty of social media is that I can, when I'm sick of all the bad news on every day, I basically turn over to you guys to get a good feeling about what's going on in the world that isn't, politics or current events related. But just
hey, Eric, I got a question for you. Eric. I mean, you were an All-American offensive tackle for RPI back in the day. You've been a fan of D3 football for as long as we have been. We're not exactly spring chickens anymore, to use the farming metaphor. But what have been your thoughts about this 22 season? There have been some matchups, some games that, some people are saying this might be the best D3 season ever. Have you been keeping up with everything that's been going on? What's been your reaction as sort of a everyday fan, kind of popping in here and out to see what's going on?
I just think that we continue to see the growth of competition, the expansion of kids putting a lot of energy into their preparation and seeing more and more talent develop and not just stay at the traditional kind of schools that are the powers across the country. It's happening at all levels. Division I, a little bit more parity happening. You're seeing an expanded playoff field. Division III, in my lifetime, started as an 18 playoff and made its way up to the current format. I just think you're seeing an opportunity where more and more kids are getting exposure, getting expanded preparation and training throughout the year. It just seems to be a cultural shift to where there's more, I would say, I don't want to say talent. There's always been talent there, but I just think that kids are bigger, stronger, faster. There's more choices for them. There's better media exposure. It's just an all around, I think, kind of a part of our society that's shifting, that's kind of carrying over and spilling over into D3 sports.
Well, listen, one of the person that's probably listening to this, he's in the wings. I see him already. AJ Wingfield from Ithaca will be joining us on this show. He's probably like 18 playoff. How the hell did they do that back then? We got 32. We need 40 at this point, the way we're going. But yeah, there's a lot of history on this call right now. And the three-headed monster.
Well,
RPI.
I just want to make one comment.
Go ahead.
The 18 playoff. I talk about that still with guys from my era. You had to be perfect, right, to make it. There was no conference qualifiers coming from RPI. For us back in the day, the road to the playoffs in the East always went through either Buff State, Union, Cortland, or Ithaca at the time. This is the late 80s, early 90s. And, if you weren't undefeated right out of the gate, forget about it. You had no shot. And it was just a totally different era. It's so fantastic now that you have these conferences with qualifiers, and a lot of intrigue happens throughout the season, where if you maybe have a stumble early out of the gate, it doesn't mean your season's over. So it's just, I think it's a great thing. And then to your point, why is this one of the best seasons? Well, another reason, I think having all these playoff spots gives kids more choices on when they're thinking about pursuing student athletics at the Division III level for football. Hey, you're not just looking at one school because you think you got a shot to make the playoffs every year with them. So I think a lot of good balance is going on.
Well, Eric, send us to open here for season 15. The honor is all yours, and we appreciate you joining us, sir.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, Your Honorable, James, I would like to have you make sure that, because if I was still doing the show, it would be introduced as the Honorable Frank Rossi. So let's just make sure we do plenty of that. So, Your Eminence, very, very nice to join. And James, always a pleasure. You're looking good there, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, you're doing a great job. I think everyone who hears the show and watches it and sees what you're doing, whether live or following along, is it's a great thing. Great for seeing you keep it going and continuing to develop the platform, and really high tech here with all the screen, logos and whatnot. I'm out of my element. I feel like for me to navigate this, I almost have to call my teenage kids in to teach me how to tweet talk or whatever they do nowadays. So
okay, tweet talk. What the hell is that?
that's
Folks,
what I call it.
Here we go, folks. I'm going to do it for you, Eric, because this reminds me of the old days. I'm going to cut you short and say, folks, welcome to Season 15, the live show of In the Huddle. Hold on.
Before we get started.
Oh, no. I was recording you during that, JB, and the fact is, I want to show everybody what you do during our theme song.
I get into it. What can I say? It's funny, Frank. Actually, remember the Springfield interview with the hand things that those guys had?
Yeah. Go ahead.
The best part of doing this for 15 seasons is all the crazy memories that we've made and all the different random interviews. Oh my gosh!
I still see it on my screen. I'm sorry. It's just it's awesome. Listen, we've got a guest in the wings. Some of the stuff we need to talk about is on this slide. I'm going to let you start here on regions 1 and 2 as I cry myself over here to the next phase of the show.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of interesting clinching championship types of situations going on this Saturday. Endicott can clinch the CCC. Ithaca can win the Liberty League if they beat Union. Stevenson is putting itself in position to either kind of stay on the list for the regional rankings, maybe host a MAC Centennial Bowl game in the postseason. Gallaudet can clinch the ECFC automatic qualifier with a win. Susquehanna can clinch the Centennial Conference Championship with a win. Now, the big question is, can Case Western get past the Titans and set up a winner-take-all championship game between them and undefeated Carnegie Mellon in the pack, or will Westminster play spoiler and knock the Spartans out and effectively give the title to the Tartans this weekend? We'll have to wait and see. Grove City versus Washington and Jefferson is kind of like a ECAC Bowl, not necessarily elimination game, but the winner of this game will have a better chance of hosting one of those bowl games. We'll have to wait and see. Can Utica stay in the Pool C bubble? They'll need to get past an Alfred team that's been pretty tough. They gave Cortland a good run for their money. Morrisville versus Brockport, another sort of ECAC bowl game. Can we host, or are we going to go on the road type of situation? Can Morrisville just simply rebound after that really tough loss / bad call that they had last Saturday? So yeah, these are all the different scenarios. Endicott wins if they get 1 out of 2 games, so they can win this weekend, or if something really crazy happens, Husson can get the AQ with 2 Endicott losses, and they win twice. No Pool C real opportunities there. Gallaudet wins if they get the win this weekend. Yeah, I don't even want to think about what happens if for some reason the Bison lose. So Gallaudet take care of business. And then in the MAC, Del Val will win this weekend. I think actually Del Val's are they on a late bye, Frank? I feel like they played 8 games in a row, and they have a bye coming up, or they just had their bye weekend.
I'll check on that.
So basically, they need to win one more game, and then they've locked in their millionth MAC title in a row. Kings is still lurking around the Pool C bubble. If they can go 9-1, it could shake some things up. We'll have to wait and see. MASCAC it's going to come down to week 11. I mean, it's possible that if Plymouth State gets tripped up by Mass Maritime this weekend, that UMD will win the title there. And then in the NEWMAC, once again, kind of week 11, Springfield Catholic is really, the game to watch. But I hate to say it to all those fans out there in Wisconsin that really the national playoffs run through the state of New York and actually upstate New York, because the next two Ithaca games are going to define the whole playoff picture, in my opinion. There's really you can't just say that's I'm talking it up too much, because it's really true, and I think you know what I'm talking about, Frank.
Well, let me jump in here, and we'll go to Region 2 quickly here. Tell you that Centennial, Susquehanna has the edge, needs to win one of two. Johns Hopkins is a Pool C candidate. In the Empire 8, Cortland has won, but Utica is still a Pool C candidate. If they finish 9-1 in the Liberty League, Ithaca wins the AQ with a win versus Union on Saturday. But Union controls their own destiny. If they win out, they win the Liberty League still, despite that loss to Hobart. Only Ithaca at 9-1 would be a potential Pool C qualifier. But that's something that our guest in a second will not want to talk about. 9-1, what the heck's that? In the NJAC, it's a Week 11 scenario between Salisbury and Christopher Newport. The loser is an unlikely candidate at 8-2. Probably no real Pool C talk in the NJAC. And in the PAC, it's Carnegie Mellon winning the AQ if Westminster beats Case, or it'll come down to their game versus Case in Week 11, and only Carnegie Mellon at 9-1 would be a potential Pool C candidate. Hey, AJ Wingfield, I bet in my heart of hearts, I know that you don't want to talk about 9-1 in Pool C. You want to talk about Pool A, the automatic qualifier, and all that stuff Saturday at Frank Bailey Field at Union College. First off, thanks for joining us, and how are you? How are you feeling coming into this big game?
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling really good. We're leaving in about an hour for Union, so it's exciting stuff. Since I've been here, we haven't had this opportunity to play championship football, so we're really excited for it.
AJ, it's good to see you looking so well, because there were a couple of times last Saturday where you took some hits, and I was just like, oh man. Was it a design game plan where you would read the RPI defense and kind of call your own number to make runs happen? Because they're such a tough. I mean, let's give them some credit. They're a great defense, and they've given lots of teams a lot of trouble. But it seemed like the game plan was for you to take your shots, and you made some long passes here and there when you had the opportunity. But a lot of times you sort of surveyed the field, and I saw you take off. Was that part of the game plan to sort of see, take what you could give type of thing?
Yeah, honestly, you kind of nailed it. To what you said, that RPI defense, it's really good. It's been really good. And we honestly thought this was the best defense they've had in the past, 3-4 years, which is saying a lot. And yeah, part of that game plan was obviously to have me run a lot. Lining up and spread and trying to just do what you do against them. Obviously they come off a bye week against us too, so it's tough. They're really experienced. They know what they're doing. So we thought our biggest advantage was, what haven't they seen yet from us? And that was kind of me running the ball. So I went into that game knowing it was kind of going to be a battle. I was going to have to run more than I had, in any other game at this point. And, happy we got out of there with the win, because, that RPI, you never want to be in a tight game with them. So we're happy to just get out of there with a win and survive.
So wait a minute. If memory serves, at Ramapo High School, you were the all-time leading rusher as a quarterback. Is that not the case? So you're used to kind of tucking, running, and getting it done. But I remember versus Union, I want to say last year, I was there last year for that game. You took a shot on the sideline area, basically almost helmet to helmet, unintentionally. It's just the way the play formed. You got up, looked quasi-dazed for a second, and then patted the Union player on the helmet and said, hey, good play, let's go. I mean, is this going to be something you can just keep doing? You've got some big games ahead of you here this weekend, the following weekend. We'll get to that in a minute, and I'm sure your coach doesn't want us to. Possibly playoffs. I mean, how are you going to keep yourself healthy here, taking hits like that?
No, yeah. I think that was actually Hobart. That was Emmett Ford. They're All-American over there.
You're right.
He gave me a good pop. And then RPI, they gave me some good pops for sure. And that's been one of my biggest things, even in high school. I've always I don't know why I think I'm a running back sometimes, and obviously I'm not. And so that was one of my biggest things this year was protect myself. Start sliding a little bit. But there's some moments, especially against RPI. Sometimes it's 3rd and 4. You got to put your head down and go get it. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal for me is protecting myself, trying to find a way to be healthy. But there's always those moments where you got to put your head down and go do it. That touchdown run that got called back against RPI. I actually tried to do the same thing. The kid gave me a good smack to the head, and I got up and I was like, I just wanted to give him knuckles, and he just walked away from me. And was like, "No, I'm not having it." So.
Yeah, I saw that play. I was like, "Ooh!" But yeah, I mean, you just keep getting up and you keep swinging. It's impressive. Now, last season, I had the pleasure of being on the visitors' sideline at Union College. They've got the fraternity house there. There's usually a pretty large student section. They're going to be honoring their former head coach, John Odino. I'm sure there's going to be tons of alums, a big crowd. I think I got called Tom Brady because I was wearing a Buccaneers jacket. Let's just say the Union fans come up with creative ways to heckle you guys. I mean, I know you've been there before. How do you sort of block out the noise and just do what you need to do on that Frank Bailey field on Saturday?
No, yeah, it's gonna be really fun. I've actually personally never been to Union, so but you could see it on film. I was watching their game against RPI last year, and you could see that the crowd, the hills all filled up with students and stuff. So it's something we haven't really had yet. Obviously, we get a pretty good crowd at home, but we haven't had really a true away test yet. So that's been something we've been talking about as a team. I'll say something to the team tonight about it. Just focus on the field, do what you do, and after the first couple plays, I don't think that'll play much of a factor. You just we'll lock in and do what we do, but. Obviously it's something that, it's going to be different for us and, might be a little good tune-up for next week, obviously, because we'll play, a much bigger crowd next week too.
So I saw Coach Fitzpatrick obviously after the Utica win, and Cortland and Ithaca both have the same stanza going on here of 3 different seasons in some ways. You have the regular season where you're trying to win your AQ. You have the playoffs, but in between you have this weirdness of this Yankee Stadium game in Corsica. And I mean, this is playing out even more palatial in terms of the size and meaning of the game than the one in MetLife did in a lot of ways. If you guys can get through Union and Cortland gets through unscathed, and we have 9-0 versus 9-0, you guys are battling basically for a 1 seed in the NCAA playoffs on Yankee Stadium's field. I mean, has that hit you guys yet? What is going on here? Because it's starting to hit me a little bit, and I'm getting chills and goosebumps just thinking about what is going on here in Division III in a moment that you couldn't have written like this unless something happens on the way to it. But still, it's going to be a big game no matter what. Has it hit you yet?
I mean, it's hard not to think about it. Obviously the whole next game. We're obviously focused on Union, but we understand that, if we beat Union and do what we want to do, that's going to be a huge one. And obviously, that's kind of the going into the season. That's where we wanted to be. We wanted to be 9-0 going there. We figured they would be 9-0 just because of the guys they have over there. So, mentally, I think we've been, preparing for that type of game in the back of our minds a little bit, knowing it's going to be the biggest games, probably of all time in Division III, especially both really good this year. And, when we get there, we'll get there. But, obviously it's in the back of your mind that it's really exciting.
Well, AJ, I know you guys brought back a lot from last year's team. We talked about the unfinished business thing in our preseason show. Were there elements kind of coming into this year that you felt like, you guys didn't quite accomplish your goals in 21 and that you really wanted to push to another level this season? And how do you feel you guys are doing so far?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Coach Turper came in and kind of from the bat was like, listen, forget about last year. Forget about, that RPI game, we lost 3 points. The Cortland game, we lost 1. So, we kept batting our heads and we only lost by 4 points. We're that close. And Coach Turper came in and this is a new era. Forget about it. Focus on you guys, focus on what we could do. Cause, we obviously have a lot of guys returning. This is a special group we got here. So, forget about them, forget about all that. Put your head down and let's just go and win each week because, if you keep thinking about that and let that get to your head, it's just only going to make these games bigger than they are. And, you're going to get more anxious for them. Just go out and do what you do and, we'll be fine. And I'm really happy with where we are so far.
Well, my dog is excited about the Bombers season. She's just going off there in the background. One little quick one though, if you don't mind, Frank.
Go for it.
The one loss that you did have, AJ, was I think is it Andrew or Anthony Vito, the wide receiver to graduation.
Andrew.
He was kind of like a security blanket for you last year. I mean, he broke my heart with that touchdown catch he made in the Hobart game. That was a huge play that you guys made and to win that. And you have kind of a different group of receivers, but you seem to be spreading the ball around. Tell us a little bit about this new group that you got out there.
Yeah, obviously Andrew Vito was my guy. We lived like each other back home too all summer. He's great, and I definitely miss him. But we got a guy, Mikey Anderson is. I'm sure he's a stud. We really trying to find ways to get him the ball, get him his touches, because when we get him space, he's one of the most electric players in ball, no doubt. And then besides him, you got some other guys. Sam Klein's one of my favorite. He plays X for us. Julian Demaga's our jump ball guy, and then you got Billy Tedeschi, who's just kind of the gritty, blocking guy. So it's tough because we don't really have like a Andrew Vito where you kind of know what's going to him every play. Mikey Anderson's probably that type of guy, but we're also much more run oriented this year, so it's tougher to teams to just sit back and spread against us and play deep. Like, you got to respect the run, which is helping me. And then it's just getting the receivers more open, getting Mikey more touches in space. So it's been really easy, really fun.
You mentioned Coach Turper earlier. I was texting with Coach Swanstrom down at Penn a couple weeks ago when I was at Johns Hopkins, and I look at these two coaches and I see a difference in just the personality, maybe a little bit. Coach Swanstrom seemed to always kind of be, at least with us, and from what I could see, kind of an even keel, demanding guy for you guys on the field. Turper seems to be kind of more of that exuberant cheerleader guy. I mean, doing the jumps with you guys after a big play on the sideline and everything else, and the chest bumps and all that stuff. What is the difference between the two head coaches? And, how is Turper keeping this thing alive, do you think? Has he changed anything, or is he basically playing the old "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" game with respect to the Bombers?
Yeah, it's funny. They're honestly they're not opposites, but they're pretty close. You kind of nailed it. Coach Swanstrom was just very, very his energy never got too high, never got too low. Very thought out, everything he was saying. Always kept us cool. Was always kind of quiet. And it was like a technician. Like, he just X's and O's. Like, you just trusted him. Turper's more just energetic, bringing it every day, super, super positive, super loud. And he kind of sees, he's not like Coach Swanstrom called the plays and was also the OC. So Coach Swanstrom was much more obviously offensive oriented. Coach Turper kind of sees it all. He does special teams, and he kind of just walks around at practice, goes offense, goes to defense. So he's kind of got more touches all over the place. He's more involved with, kind of every single player. So that's kind of been the biggest difference. He came in and he just brought a different type of energy. Obviously the still same players, pretty much same plays. He didn't change anything from that aspect, but just bringing a different juice, bringing energy. That's kind of the big thing.
Well, Saturday you're going to be bringing the juice for the potential Liberty League title. It's Ithaca has been in the league for a few years now, probably even before you enrolled at Ithaca, I think. Maybe it's a big opportunity for you guys. This Union defense is younger up front, but they're pretty experienced in the secondary. Give us a little sneak preview of that one coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, Union's good. Obviously it's going to be a hostile environment. I think, we've played some good offenses so far, but, it doesn't impact me as much, but their offense is pretty electric. They got really good receivers. Obviously the running back's a stud. Quarterback slings it all over the field, just watching them a little bit. So our defense will have their hands full and definitely be tested. Which, not to say they haven't been tested, but, that'll be interesting to see. Maybe more of a shootout type of game for us. Defensively they're good. They're experienced. They obviously, they confuse the quarterback a little bit. So, I've been watching a ton of film. We're ready to go, especially after RPI last week. I think we're pretty battle tested, and we're ready to go in any environment.
Absolutely.
Union's
Get that
good.
out of here, Mayor.
I mean,
Come on, man.
Union's good, AJ. I mean, come on now. Yeah, they're very good, but nonetheless, they lost to Hobart last week, so I shouldn't be worrying it necessarily until they win another game. Listen, I got to meet you last year. It was a pleasure to meet you after that Hobart game. I know JB was rooting for me not to interview you because that would have meant that Hobart had won that game last year. But you brought an energy and an excitement to Ithaca football that I think people really appreciate, as JB alluded to, your drive to just put your head down and do what you got to do. Throw caution to the wind sometimes. That is something that's really electrified your school, your game there, much like Zach Boyce at Cortland. So I'm excited to see you guys play next week against each other, because that's a really great quarterback matchup going on there at Yankee Stadium. But first things first, I will see you tomorrow. You get 2 Saturdays in a row with me. Sorry, man. Get used to my ugly face somewhere in that sideline. But first, before anything else, you know how this works. You get shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, anybody out there, as you'll see them in just mere minutes getting ready for the trip to Schenectady, New York. AJ Wingfield, the floor is yours.
Yeah, obviously got to shout out the parents. They're the reason I'm here. And got to shout out the O-line. I think I've been sacked twice this year, maybe, and they're probably both my fault. So they've been begging me to bring them out to a dinner. I don't know who they think I am with, like I'm an NFL quarterback or something. The O-line's definitely deserving of shout out here. Just 2 sacks. We've been running teams over. So everything goes to them.
I think you got some big NIL deals or something like that going on in Ithaca, which a small market. I don't think it's going to necessarily fly there. But anyway, AJ, good luck this weekend. You'll see who we pick later on in the show in this big game. It is one of the 16 games we're picking this weekend. But the 16 games, the 16 games you want to be a part of are in a couple of weeks, which is the playoffs, round 1. So get your business taken care of this weekend. You don't have to worry about it for a couple of weeks. Good luck to you.
No doubt. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. JB, I'll tell you, it's going to be an interesting bruising game, I think, at Frank Bailey Field. That loss Union endured to the hands of your Hobart Statesmen in Geneva last week is something that I think maybe they learn a lot from that game. Sometimes you got to lose games to win games in Division III. But I will send you on your way here to Regions 3 and 4 as we reset things, and then I'll go through the different scenarios in Regions 3 and 4 after you tell folks about the games to watch.
All right. Well, Albion is still in control of their MIAA destiny. They need to get past the Comets. In the ODAC, Hampden-Sydney, Shenandoah is kind of more of a rivalry game. It won't impact the championship per se, but a game that will impact the championship is, in fact, John Carroll versus Mount Union. The Blue Streaks need a win to kind of keep themselves in nationally relevant here. Baldwin Wallace versus Heidelberg, though, might be the actually more important game this weekend, because if Baldwin Wallace loses, Mount Union can clinch the OAC championship for, probably the 25th or 30th time in a row. It seems they've been on a roll there. Mount St. Joe's is in control of their destiny. They can win the HCAC, I believe. And then UMHB versus Howard Payne. I think UMHB needs to win 1 of 2. They need to win this game if they're going to have a chance, and Ellie definitely agrees with me there.
Yeah, the dogs are out for that one for sure. Let's talk about the ASC. Pool A, UMHB wins the AQ with a win versus Howard Payne. However, there could be a 3-way tie with Howard Payne, Hardin-Simmons, and UMHB. And if that happens, the 3-way tie is positive points scored against the tied teams, maximum capped at 21 points. A loss is 0 points. That means that UMHB has the edge because they beat Hardin-Simmons by 30, so it's 20 plus 21 for them, unless Howard Payne wins by 21 versus them. Yeah, go figure that one out. Hardin-Simmons did not win by 21 against Howard Payne, remember, so UMHB has the edge. For Pool C, Hardin-Simmons at 9-1. Maybe even Howard Payne at 8-2. If they were able to beat UMHB but didn't win the conference, they could be candidates also. In the ODAC, Randolph-Macon wins the AQ in Week 11 with a win over Hampden-Sydney. Otherwise, if you have a three-way tie there, which is possible with Bridgewater, it's point differential between the three, and good luck to you in figuring all that out. In Pool C, though, Randolph-Macon and Bridgewater would be candidates at 9-1. SAA, Trinity wins the AQ with a win in one of two games. Birmingham Southern would have to hope for two Trinity losses and to win out on their games remaining. But they are still a potential Pool C candidate is Birmingham Southern at 8-2. In the USA South, Huntingdon wins the AQ with winning one of two games. The winner of Belhaven-Brevard could still hope for something if Huntingdon lost twice, and they won out. Belhaven, though, a candidate in Pool C at 9-1. Then in Region 4, the NCAC, it's basic, or HCAC, excuse me, if Mount St. Joseph and Rose-Hulman win in Week 10, their Week 11 matchup is for the AQ. Otherwise, several scenarios exist between Mount St. Joseph, Rose-Hulman, Franklin, and Hanover. Good luck to everybody trying to figure that one out. I didn't even try to start. Mount St. Joseph will be the candidate for Pool C at 9-1 if they don't win the AQ. In the MIAA, the Week 11 game between Albion and Alma is winner takes all. In Pool C, the loser of it would be 9-1 if they win in Week 10 their respective games and would be a candidate for Pool C. And now in the NCAC, if DePauw and Wabash win in Week 10, they have a winner-take-all in Week 11. Otherwise, several scenarios between DePauw, Wabash, Denison, and Ohio Wesleyan exist. Really no Pool C opportunities there. And in the OAC, leaving the best for last here, Mount Union wins the AQ with a win versus JCU and a BWU loss, Baldwin Wallace, as you talked about. JCU wins the AQ with a win versus Mount and win versus Otterbein. Now, there is a chance for a three-way tie in the OAC between Mount Union, John Carroll, and Baldwin Wallace. And if that happens, the coach is not involved in the tie. Vote on who the winner is for the AQ. Yes, folks?
They vote?
Yes, you cannot write this stuff, I swear to you. And Pool C, Mount Union would be a candidate at 9-1 if they don't win the AQ. Johns Hopkins and Baldwin Wallace would both be unlikely candidates for Pool C at 8-2. Okay, that needs to see. So we got two things to that now. There we go. If we post these to Twitter later on, then we know what to do with them. But there you go. They vote. I think what happened there was when I read that they have a vote, I didn't know what I was typing anymore because that's just strange to me. Yeah, speechless. I thought so.
A vote?
A vote.
Okay.
Which means,
coin? I mean,
okay. Here's what you do. You basically say if your coaches. No, it's not Mount Union because you know damn well Mount Union's going to get the Pool C bid at that point. So you basically get a twofer if you don't pick Mount Union as a coach in that situation, if that were ever to happen. Now, that would take a lot of problems to exist, including probably a loss this weekend, loss this weekend by Mount. Yeah, so we'll just leave it at that if that ever were to happen. Let's go to Regions 5 and 6, and then we'll do the same. Go for it.
All right. Well, it's always WIAC in the WIAC, and River Falls and La Crosse. We'll see if they can't upset the apple cart one more time. Same thing with Whitewater and Stout. I mean, all of these games kind of seem to be coming down to 50-yard field goals and doinks off the goalposts and all sorts of stuff going on. So that'll be fun to watch around 2 o'clock tomorrow. Wash U and Wheaton, this is kind of a playoff Pool C play-in game, in my opinion. The winner of this game is probably getting a bid. It's just how it is. The CCIW is that nationally regarded. Wash U, especially if they're 9-1, is almost a lock. I mean, I know Wheaton has a couple of losses. 8-2 would kind of put them on the bubble, but close loss by 1 point to Trinity. I think when it comes into looking at actual games and all that, wins and losses, I could see an 8-2 Wheaton getting in, but that's neither here nor there. Ripon can clinch, I believe, the Midwest Conference with a win over Monmouth because they lost to Lake Forest. Ripon has the tiebreaker win over Lake Forest, but we'll get into that the next slide. Redlands at Claremont Mudd Scripps. I think at 3 and 5, Redlands can still win this conference. It's just crazy overall. And Claremont's in the driver's seat, and they actually popped into the regional rankings at 6 and 1. I with a 212 out of 200 and something, 230 strength of schedule. I didn't think they would get on the list, but they did. the win-loss thing is kind of important for at least this first go-around. Wisconsin Lutheran Concordia, it's a big kind of rivalry game out there in the Midwest. And then late night, you got Whittier, Pomona Pitzer, Kowloon, Chapman. You like Rip versus Monmouth. I like Wash U, and I'll let you take it from here.
Wash U Wheaton, and then Redlands CMS is mine, and River Falls Lacrosse is yours. Sorry about that, taking off screen early on you. But just to move us along here in the ARC Pool A situation, Wartburg wins the AQ by winning versus Simpson in Week 10 and Co. in Week 11. But there could be a three-way tie between Wartburg, Co. and Dubuque. The most recent NCAA playoff participant or participants, if they both go or multiple go in the same year, are eliminated, and that would be Wartburg in 2019, meaning Dubuque would advance in a three-way tie. Yes, folks, you can thank me later for sitting down at Starbucks last night going through all these scenarios. Pool C, Wartburg would be at 9-1 if they don't win the AQ. They would be a candidate for sure. CCIW, you talked a little bit about it. North Central wins by winning one of two games. Winner of Wheaton Wash U wins the AQ. If North Central loses two games, good luck, and they win out. Pool C, the winner of Wheaton Wash U would be a Pool C candidate. That'd be Wash U at 9-1 or Wheaton at 8-2 with a quality game against Trinity. Remember that overtime loss. That's why they would still be a candidate at 8-2. In the Midwest Conference, Ripon wins the AQ with the win versus Monmouth in Week 10. A three-way tie between Ripon, Lake Forest, and Monmouth. The team that led it in the most quarters of conference play. No, I did not do that math. I'll rely on Jim Catanzaro to tell us how that would play out at some point later on. Ripon or Lake Forest would be candidates at 9-1, though they have not gotten the respect of the Midwest Conference in this respect over history here, but who knows. 9-1 still is a meaningful finish for one of those teams. In the NACC, it's going to come down to Week 11, Aurora Concordia winner, unless Concordia loses the Luther Cup to Wisconsin Lutheran this week. No Pool C candidates really to speak of there. In Region 6, in the MIAC, St. John's advances to the MIAC title game with a win versus Carleton. But a three-way divisional tie could exist between St. John's, Carleton, and Gustavus Adolphus. If that happens, Carleton's eliminated and St. John's advances. Don't ask. Bethel has advanced to the MIAC title game. So Week 11, the winner of Bethel versus whatever team gets through wins the AQ. For Pool C, Bethel at 8-2 would be the candidate. St. John's at 8-2 might be a candidate if they play for the MIAC title. I don't think an 8-2 St. John's that didn't play in that game would have the same possibility. In the Northwest Conference, Linfield wins the AQ, winning one of two remaining games. No real Pool C options there. In the SCIAC, Redlands CMS winner controls their own destiny in Week 11. CMS win and Pomona Pitzer loss in Week 10 makes CMS the winner this week. So they could clear out and win. Claremont Mudscripts can. Pomona Pitzer needs Redlands loss to control their own destiny in Week 10 going into Week 11. And no, there is no chance for Pool C in the SCIAC. Let's just be real about that. In the UMAC, Northwestern of Minnesota wins the AQ with one win. Minnesota Morris and Greenville winner wins the AQ if Northwestern loses twice and the team that wins the game between them wins out. No Pool C options there either. And in the WEAC, wacky. Pool A currently is controlled by Whitewater. A loss by Whitewater gives Lacrosse control of the AQ, but losses by both create multiple scenarios, and I did not bother. Pool C, only UWL at 7-1 or 6-2 would be candidate. And remember, the records I'm talking about are versus D3 because they have two non-D3 games. And I will emphasize here, never, even with more Pool C teams, has the committee ever selected a three-loss team in Division III games in the 23 years of the Pool C generation of playoff selection. Just keep that in mind, folks. Those that think that a three-loss in Division III WEAC team has a chance to be selected, I don't go there because you just saw the number of 1- and 2-loss teams across the country that have resumes worthy of selection. How do you go that deep in that situation? I get that some of these teams took some real chances on their scheduling, but you got to still win the games. You've got to win the games at a certain point. And I can forgive 2 losses, but not 3 losses in that situation. What's your thought on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I tried to sort of predict what the 42 teams would be on the regional rankings, I had no idea that Platteville would even get to the table, and they did in Region 6, which was kind of a big surprise with a 4-4 overall record, but a 4-3 D3 record. That was the biggest surprise to me. I mean, yeah, they won some big games, but they've also lost some games in pretty one-sided fashion. I don't think they should have made that list. I don't know what the rack from that area was thinking, but hey, same thing with the Claremont Mud Scripps. Yeah, sure, they're 6-1, but 212th strength of schedule. I mean, I get that they're going to make the playoffs if they win, but that was another kind of head scratcher. And then back in Region 3, Frank, I got Bellhaven right, but I was surprised that Birmingham Southern didn't make the list. Their 2 losses were to top 25 teams by only a field goal. They should have been on there. I mean, I understand that 7-1 is technically better than 6-2, but look at Birmingham's resume. I mean, they're a true contender. They should have been on that list. Maybe we'll see them the next Wednesday, assuming they win this weekend. But there's a couple of head scratchers, but overall, it's so far things are starting to fall into place like we thought.
So let's do a couple things here as we transition before we do predictions. First off, I want to put this up, and here is a look at the teams that have declared for the ECACs as of yesterday. And you can see a good list of teams, 16 total. We have them split up 8 and 8 for the screen here. But, if you see your team not on this list and you don't think you're going to hit the playoffs and you're going to finish 500 or better in either your overall or your conference records, then get on the horn, call your coach or AD and say, hey, why aren't we going? Why aren't we doing this? And maybe they aren't going to do it. I understand that. That happens. But nonetheless, the deadline's Monday. So if you want to be ECAC Bowl eligible, get your school on this list. Now, I understand the New England Bowls will preclude some of those schools from signing up for this and everything else. But
Max
just remember,
Centennial too. Yeah.
Yep. And remember, these are for teams that are ECAC members. That means mostly Eastern teams, folks. So those in the Midwest and the West, go get your own bowl games, and you are beginning to get some of them, as we know.
Cousins, we got Isthmus Bowl, we got all sorts of bowls going on out there. It's great.
Exactly. So just get your team on the list if you're an Eastern team that is a member of the ECAC by Monday. Okay, we got one quasi-hype video, and we'll stay on the theme of Ithaca a little bit. So we got some lows and some highs with Ithaca. Ithaca's got a great broadcasting department with the ICTV stuff and everything else. But I'll tell you, the Saturday broadcast, I got a couple critiques for them, and I mean this with love, but you got to be perfectionists when you're doing it as kind of a more professional approach. The score bug was a disaster, and they switched to another score bug midway through the game because that, I don't know what they were thinking with that first one in the first place, but the second one at least worked, although the clock was a little bit, it was being hand done, you could tell. But, if you're a color commentator and a play-by-play broadcaster, and I've seen this in Ithaca's broadcast, some of the Springfield broadcasts too. And our friend Brian McGoffin said you made his Friday rather doing the shake weight during the show open. By the way, there, JB. Yes, exactly. If you are a young broadcaster, stop using the cliches you hear on ESPN all the time. It just gets stupid, it gets old, and it's unnecessary. It's not descriptive. Ron Cherry, I saw the piece this week about him doing the whole giving him the business thing on ESPN. They did a whole retrospective on it. But, the next guy that did giving him the business wouldn't be the same type of response. And the 82nd guy that did giving him the business would be even less favorable. And people would be like, okay, we get it already. Just have fun. Describe what's going on the field. Don't abuse the cliches in sports, and you're going to be a much better broadcaster for that. It takes a little bit of prep work to have other things to say, to not try to do these one-liners like that. Be confident, be clear, be concise. That's the best thing you can do, unlike me. Anyway, with Ithaca, though, Peter Rader does a phenomenal job for Ithaca with his on-field camera work. And we're going to go back to the highlights from Ithaca versus RPI from Peter Rader and his folks' point of view. from last week. 2 minutes, 20 seconds, worth watching. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. We are coming to you live from Butterfield Stadium in Ithaca, New York, for today's battle on the gridiron between the 12th-ranked Ithaca College Bombers and the RPI Engineers.
It's only one play. It's only one way we play the game. Fast and physical, baby. Let's go. Let's go. One team. 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 It's game day.
It's Giancarlo Kelly who brings down Kazanowski, 4th down and long. Cuts up the near side, numbers, breaks one tackle, breaks two, now to the 25 before he's yanked out of bounds. Wingfield takes himself off tackle, scampers into the end zone, touchdown Wingfield, touchdown Bombers. They take a 6-0 lead with 14:55 left to go in the second. RPI at the 12-yard line, so this will be about a 30-yard kick. Snap, pull, the kick is rejected. Falls at the A of Ithaca in the end zone. Derek Sluka settles in the pocket, under some duress, fires a little teardrop jump ball that is, it's complete to Billy Tedeschi on a jump ball, first down Ithaca, running out of time, and he's dragged down by Michael Blanchard. It brings up 4th down. And Ithaca goes into the half up 7-0. Fires a deep ball to Sam Klein. It's complete at the 30, down to the 26-yard line. The kick is up, and Bamunde splits the uprights. Have plenty of distance on that one. Fires deep down the far sideline. Touchdown RPI. Fires a deep ball down the near side, intended for Mikey Anderson, and he makes the catch. Snap, hold is down, the kick is up, and Bamunde splits the uprights. DeSimplis rallies in, and that ball is intercepted by Mikey Rumis at the 15-yard line on the near sideline. Burnett in the backfield. Snap back. Kazanowski settles into the pocket. Under some pressure, fires a pass that is dropped. And for the first time this century, the Bombers dethrone the Engineers.
Wow. I mean,
That's the way to do it.
At the top. Yeah, I mean, what did I say at the top of the show? The playoffs, at least the selection of the brackets, runs through upstate New York, fellas. I'm just saying, it's going to be pretty exciting. There's some big games yet to go these last 2 weeks. I mean, and Ithaca is really kind of the center of attention in many respects. I mean, Union has a chance to knock them off. Cortland and Ithaca are going to have this huge stage at Yankee Stadium, which could potentially be a undefeated versus undefeated top 12 or 13th ranked teams in the country. Wow, what a way for what's been a great 22 season to wrap up.
Well, I needed to wrap up with some wins because I am still trailing by 5 with an asterisk. We'll call it 4.5. It's something like, yeah, okay.
4.5, 4
yeah.
point something.
Exactly.
4-point double clutch.
That was James Baker. Cards and letters to James Baker, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not send them my way because it is not deserved. So let's see here. We need some music. So Maestro. And then we need to have me go first today, and I will see the first game up on the screen. We'll get the clock started. 13 minutes on the clock for 16 games. Go. It's me going in the CCC. Salve Regina at Endicott. Listen, this is going to be a pretty good game, but it's not going to be a win for Salve, I don't believe. That UNE game is just a head-scratcher of head-scratchers there. And Endicott, they need a close game. They really do, I think, to just kind of understand how to win those close games when they get to the playoffs. But this may not be it. I think it'll be closer than most. I said that last week, didn't I? 31-17, though, pulling away. Endicott.
Yeah. I mean, the Gulls are like a Liberty League team in New England. They're just playing at a whole nother level than anywhere else in that area. They'll win this one going away. I think, unfortunately, the Seahawks are just depleted from injuries, so Endicott wins 35-14.
Gallaudet at Alfred State to protect all things vital in the ECFC without having to go through scenario after scenario next week. What do you think?
Well, I mean, the Pios at home are tough, and they could certainly create some havoc, but I just feel that Gallaudet, with that just constant run offense, will control the clock, control the ball. They'll kind of wear away. I think it's going to be a close, kind of crazy game, maybe even an OT game, but I'll take the Bison 28-24.
Alfred State at home is a tough team to beat. I'm going to go for Alfred State here for chaos in the ECFC. I understand that there may be some wearing of certain colors going on by the Castleton faithful because they need some help via this game, essentially. So we got all kinds of weirdness going on out there trying to root against Gallaudet because teams need that to happen. Yeah, Alfred State, I think, wins it by his final score 24-20. Next up, we'll go to Region 2, Ithaca at Union, and I will begin, and I am going to call for the upset. I am going to call for the upset here, baby, because, look, John Audino...
Okay, come on.
John Audino coming back is a huge deal. A lot of alumni will be there. It's senior day at Frank Bailey Field. There will be emotion all over the place, and just historically, somebody drops a game heading into Corsica. It feels like we never get to undefeated versus undefeated. Why should this year change anything in that respect? I'm going to say Union does win because they learned a lot from that Hobart loss. 28-24. We'll go for it.
That's the most popular score of the year. I mean, so looking at the common opponent, right, just over my shoulder here, Hobart showed that you can pass deep on Union and Ithaca, and I think this game could turn into a shootout, but I feel like the offenses are going to try to settle that down by running the ball a little more. But I think with Baja Monde, he might kick a game-winning field goal. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I'll take the Bombers 16-13.
Quick trivia. How many games has Union won against Ithaca since 2010?
I don't know, 3? 1. Okay.
Tough to believe that, isn't it, with everything else going on? Alfred at Utica, you start this one. Will the Riggies bounce back after that weirdness last week?
I think they will. I think their offense is just a little too strong. And Alfred, while their defense has guys like Joe Kopp that are some of the best linebackers in Region 2, just a little too much Riggies there. So I'll take Utica to win this one, say 31-17.
Yeah, I think they've righted the ship in some ways in that fourth quarter and will continue that winning way here. Although Alfred is no slouch. If this were at Alfred, I would actually pick Alfred probably, but I think Utica wins this at home 21-17. Lower scoring game, actually. Nice weather out here, though, this weekend, folks, so it won't be weather-based. Morrisville State at Brockport State. As you said, an AC type of scenario here. Who's going to host one, for instance? I'm going to give the edge here to Brockport at home. It's tough to shake off what happened last week, and no matter how hard Coach Raby tries to do it, I still think that Brockport has a better momentum edge here coming into this game. So I'm going to give Brockport a win here, 27-20.
Yeah, and I think last year one of the very few wins that Morrisville had was kind of upsetting Brockport at the end of the season. So this is kind of a payback game for the Golden Eagles at home. I think it's going to be low scoring, but I'll take them 21-17.
Susquehanna at Muhlenberg, possibly for a title for Susquehanna, but Nate Milne and company have a lot to say about that at home. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, the Riverhawks are certainly riding on a high. The Mules would love to kind of kick them off the pedestal. So with dad jokes aside, though, I feel like Susquehanna is going to hang in there. They know how to win close games. They'll take this one 27-24.
You really went there, didn't you? Susquehanna wins this game. Michael Roosh continues. I'll tell you, Muhlenberg, if they can find a way to get to Roosh, should be a game changer because he's only been sacked one time this season, as we keep chronicling here. But they're going to need run support here, and that's the thing. Can Susquehanna open up the run this game, unlike that Johns Hopkins game? That'll be important. I think they might be able to here a little bit. Nate Milne will hate me for saying that. Susquehanna wins 20-14. Low-scoring game. Case Western at Westminster. I'm going to give this one to Westminster at home. This is a tough game for Case, maybe looking ahead, and could give Carnegie Mellon the title.
Chili is going to get it done.
Bar's chili, indeed. Maybe she'll feed it to Case Western before the game, and that'll be the problem. Sorry, Barb. Anyway, I'm going to say Westminster wins this game 28-27. A very close, good game.
Yeah, I guess, man, it's tough to pick against the Titans because they've been on a little of a roll. But Drew Saxon and the Spartans, they were my kind of team to watch, dark horse in the pack. So why not stick with them so they can maybe have a championship type of game against Carnegie Mellon Week 11? So why not? Yeah, I'll take Case Western 31-24.
UMHB at Howard Payne. Can Howard Payne at home pull off the impossible?
Well, they looked like they could against Hardin Simmons in the first half, and then it kind of went the other way. I feel like with some rest, that Kyle King and company are going to come out firing, and I think he'll have his 69th career touchdown in the first quarter, and kind of go from there. We'll take the Crusaders 42-21.
Yeah, I think the wake-up call to the ASC was last week's first half. That Howard Payne cannot be taken lightly, and it probably woke up UMHB. So I'm going to say they do win this game 40-17. John Carroll at Mount Union. Look, all this hype about John Carroll in the top 25, it becomes who did they play? I don't think the OAC's undercard is that this season. Sorry to Coach Donaldson and company, but I mean, I don't see it. And Mount Union wins this game 50-10. I think it's going to be that bad.
Yeah, I think Plunk and Ruby are going to have a big day. So yeah, I'd say 38-7.
But will Mount Union clinch? It'll depend on this game. Baldwin Wallace at Heidelberg.
Yes, they will. I think the Student Princes at home are going to knock off Baldwin Wallace. I think it'll be a higher scoring game, a little back and forth, but 38-28.
Agreement 31-20 Heidelberg in that game. Wheaton at Wash U. Again, here's a case. So Wheaton's had a really great schedule. Wash U has had a whatever schedule, and North Central being the exception, but it was the loss, so you don't learn much from that. I think Wheaton is the class of this game, no doubt, and it'll make the committee have some tough decisions to make about an 8-2 Wheaton team. Ultimately, Wheaton wins this 37-17.
Yeah, maybe I have a little more faith in the Bears of St. Louis, so I think I'll hitch my wagon to Wash U and see what happens. If they finish 9-1, they're about a Pool C lock as it gets, so we'll see what happens. I'll take them low scoring 17-14.
Wow, I'm shocked you're going there. Ripon at Monmouth, you go.
The Rips, I think they'll clinch the MWC with a win here. Monmouth looked pretty ordinary against Lake Forest, who lost to Ripon. Maybe Lake Forest should have won that game, but they didn't. So it goes. I'll take Ripon 35-21.
Monmouth at home wins this game against Ripon and tears apart the dream of the undefeated season of Ripon, I believe. Monmouth wins 27-20. Wisconsin Lutheran at Concordia, Wisconsin for the Luther Cup. Good to see those folks again out there, because that was one of our big highlight games in the spring season, remember? Where we had the great announcing and everything else. Concordia, Wisconsin's got a lot to play for here, not just the Luther Cup, but just overall to have some level of say in, where things fall in their region, and the possibility of a bowl game and everything else. So I'm going to say Concordia, Wisconsin wins this high-scoring, good game, 37-31.
Wiz Lou versus Con Wiz. All right, well, the Luther Cup, I think we'll go to Concordia. Like you said, a high-scoring, more shootout type of thing. I'll say 42-35.
Here Here we go with River Falls at La Crosse, part of the Weakiness.
Let's get Weaky.
Yep, and you go?
I think the Eagles probably find a way to win at home. It's going to be starting to get cold up there. I think they're going to lean on their defense, lean on the run game. So I'll take them at low scoring, probably a field goal situation, 17-14 Eagles.
You know, I'm trying to think quickly here as I look back to my quick hits picks. If you give me a second.
Got 90
here.
seconds, Frank.
I know I do. Thanks. I called this the game of the week. I didn't make a decision. I think River Falls gets this game and creates a real
Picking
problem.
a lot of upsets, Frank.
Oh, well, is this an upset, really? Because how do you order these teams after everything going on? This isn't a huge upset. It may be because it's at La Crosse, but
true.
River Falls can do this. They can win this game. And after letting one go last week against Whitewater, what's to say they can't win this thing from what they learned from that and bounce back? River Falls wins 21-10. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, to be honest with you. Whitewater at Stout. Will Stout continue their ways of upsetting here after that Platteville game? The answer is no. Whitewater wins this game 37-17.
Yeah, I'll take the Warhawks also. I think it'll be maybe a little lower scoring than that, say 24-14.
And finally, Redlands at Claremont Mudd Scripps. We'll take up the whole clock just every time I say Claremont Mudd Scripps. Go ahead.
I guess I'll go with Claremont. They're at home. They're supposedly 6-1 and the best team in the SCIAC. We'll see. 35-21.
Tyler Tremaine, that freshman phenom that we saw basically drag his team to the win at the finish line, gets things done and wins this game by the final score of 27-20. And that's it. That's it.
All right, we made it. 16 games, wow.
Yeah, in 13 minutes we did it. So, look, I could either go out down in flames this week and pretty much be done for, or I could basically bounce back. Or don't get too excited and knock your computer down over there, buddy. So,
I'm
as
just
you
doing
tell...
like the broadcasts.
Yeah. We had another couple of those last week, and I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
So as you tell folks what to watch for, I'm going to run on the screen the quote-unquote conference championship possibilities that we're denoting. Now, not all these are true conference championships, but these are games that may have a de facto type of role in deciding them. And, JB, what would you watch? How would you watch it this week in Week 10 of college football, Division III style?
Yeah, well, it's going to be tough again because everything's going to be sort of tightly packed in between the 12 and 2 o'clock time frame. So you'll have a lot of games for championships basically ending around 2 as a whole another slew is about to kick off. But I'd probably start off with Ithaca Union. That's obviously the biggest game in my opinion coming up this weekend for a number of reasons. It's going to really impact the bracket. Susquehanna Muhlenberg at 1 stands out obviously as a big deal because there's not only a conference championship on the line, but also kind of in the background, the Centennial is sort of viewed as probably the best chance for a Pool C team in Region 2. And then as things kind of go on a little later, I mean, I would check in on Gallaudet Alfred State. That game could have a crazy ending. Del Val, FDU. I mean, maybe not as exciting, but we'll have to kind of wait and see there. Once around 1:30, I would check in on John Carroll Mount Union. That game could be over in the first quarter, though, potentially. Trinity Millsap should be pretty one-sided. Northwestern Crown, kind of the same thing. Huntington, North Carolina Wesleyan, sort of the same thing. Those you can maybe do a little more scoreboard watching. So, yeah, I'd probably start off with a little Liberty League, sprinkle in some Centennial, maybe check in on Endicott, see how they're doing there, and then later on in the afternoon, maybe Ripon Monmouth, and then you kind of get into some of the later games as far as, St. John's versus Bethel Part 2, maybe. Concordia. Oh, this is Week 11, so yeah.
Yeah, week 11. I just wanted to transition here to show folks what is on the plate. There are huge games coming up in Week 11. It's almost split half and half between Week 10 and Week 11 where we think things will fall ultimately. So we'll be looking at a lot of these games next week. And obviously the game that we're really looking at next week, even though it will have no implications on conference races, but could on bracketing, is Ithaca Cortland Yankee Stadium coming up next weekend. So you'll want to obviously stay tuned for all of our coverage of that game. But first things first, Week 10's got a lot of things coming up. This was a frenetic show in terms of everything we had to include. Thanks to Eric Wren, thanks to AJ Wingfield, Justin Lutz, and Peter Rader for all their contributions to help us out here. And thanks to you folks for watching. You've been making our Friday live show must-see TV via Facebook over the weeks, and we do appreciate that. As well. I will be at Union tomorrow for Ithaca at Union, and then you know the rest. I also will be covering a Friday night game next week in New Jersey, so we'll have 2 games next weekend for you folks. Weather's great in upstate New York. The weather sucks in the Midwest from what I understand, or at least the Chicagoland area for rain, etc. coming up there. So games could be affected by that weather, so we'll see what happens. Stay tuned for that. But nonetheless, huge Week 10 coming up here, and you'll want to watch it all day, as JB just told you. He's running out of fingers, and he'll have to start taking socks off to tell you what week it is soon. I hope that's what he'll take off to show us the rest. But nonetheless, folks, have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Twitter. We'll see you early next week with Crunch Time. Be well.